Ezreal is best known for his unique blue build, throwing global bananas, and his passionate relationship with Taric. But Gemtacula isn't the only one Ezreal is going to anally penetrate. Nah, Ezreal is willing to butt pound anyone and everyone who gets in the way of victory.
You want some butt, you wanna be in, but not tonight in my anus.
Outrageous.
You wanna pound it, but it feels like I'm gonna shit on your dick.
But was Ezreal always this wildly successful butt pirate, or was there ever a time where maybe he was a catcher and not a pitcher? Find out on today's episode of How OP League Used to Be. Ezreal was released back in March of 2010, almost 6 years ago. That is a hell of a long time, but surprisingly enough, he's never had any major character-altering changes. No reworks, no abilities being replaced, etc. But of course, you can't go 6 years without balancing, just like I can't go 6 days without uploading. Oh wait, but anyhow, this episode we're going to be looking at the changes of each of Ezreal's abilities individually. Let's get started. Kicking it off with his passive, Rising Spell Force. Other than the buff duration being toyed with, the attack speed used to scale 15% per stack, up to 75% attack speed total. Today's max attack speed is only 50%, and thank Jesus Christ and his massive cock for that, because the last thing I need is more Muramana autos coming my way. Those things hurt more than the time my girlfriend broke up with me by setting her Facebook relationship status to single and willing to fuck anything that isn't that ramen noodle haired faggot. Ezreal's Q, Mystic Shot, is the bread and butter of everything Ezreal. At one point though, it only scaled 100% with AD instead of today's 110%, and it didn't even have an AP ratio. It was basically just a greater ranged auto attack that you had to aim and that couldn't go through minions. Sounds more lame than my bully back in high school. Kid had to beat me into doing his remedial math homework. Fucking lame-o, am I right? The most obnoxious part of this ability's history is when it used to have 50 more range than it does today, sitting at 1200, which might not seem like much. It might not be like AoE stun %, max health, true magic damage every 3 autos, and after 10 seconds they're ported to you, but honestly, how often are you sitting in lane trying to hit those level 1, level 2 Qs to get that early harass in, but that motherfucker is just barely scraping out of reach? Now if you had that tiny extra oomph, that little extra chazzle dazzle, old but great reference, you'll actually be landing those delicious cum shots. They'd have to stand so far back that they couldn't last it. So far back that you'd hear them less than the other Democratic candidate. Yeah, you know, that guy. Yeah, him. No one knows his name.
But Frost, couldn't you just stand behind the creep wave like everyone else does today?
Hey man, why don't you shut the fuck up? Essence Flux, Ezreal's W, is where shit gets real. Essence Flux was like the best low price combo deal of your entire life. It's like going to get some fast food, and for $1 you get 20 nuggets, large fries, a large soda, an extra burger, the cute girl checking you out, the lease for the store, and $1. This one basic ability used to deal a good chunk of magic damage, was an attack speed steroid, an attack speed depressor, and a heal. Compare it to Nidalee's heal today and you'll find that it heals for quite a bit more, but only gives half the attack speed. But it can be given to everyone. Talk about a fight swing. In theory, you could heal your team for up to 1120 HP while dealing 1400 damage if you had no AP on a basic ability. Moving on to Ezreal's E, Arcane Shift. Honestly, this ability really hasn't had much done to it. In my personal opinion, this is one of the best design abilities in all of League. It has a relatively long cooldown at earlier parts in the game that is rewardingly decreased by being accurate with another ability. It is not always 100% guaranteed escape either, as it could aggro jungle camps, which could kill you, or it could just minion block your ass long enough for the enemy to walk around. It can be used offensively for damage and gap closing, or to kite efficiently. I really just love this ability. It did, however, have a few buggeroonies way back when, but let's be real here, what in League of Legends has not been bugged? It used to be castable while rooted, which is complete and utter bullshit. There's no excuse. The other major bug was that Ezreal's E could target wards, even when invisible. It's the ultimate security. Anytime you want to go back in a bush, just smack your E to make sure you're not spotted. And finally, TRUESHOT Barrage, otherwise known as the Banana Cannon. At Ezreal's release, this ability didn't even have an AD ratio, and when Riot thought it would be a good idea to add one because it wasn't doing enough damage, it was added in the most complicated way possible. Instead of both ratios being included into the damage, it was stated that the ability would either scale with AD or AP, whichever would result in the most damage on that cast. A couple of silly bugs did come with this ability as well. The first being that Ezreal's voice would play at the target location. Like if you were trying to snipe top lane, it would be a reminder. Excuse me, Garen, there is an Ezreal ult headed your way. I repeat, banana incoming, banana. God damn it. The other bug was with Pulsefire Ezreal. If you scaled your ult while you were dead while using this skin, it would play your death animation twice. You could just scare the shit out of your enemies with that, making them think that you just popped out of nowhere to gank their ass, or like in the middle of a team fight, you had a guardian angel and they weren't paying attention. For quite a bit in recent past, Ezreal has been thought to be subpar and not really brought up anywhere except for when Runeglade was floating about. A couple of good suggestions were given, like for example, it was suggested that Ezreal's W should leave a mark on a champion that could be procced by landing his E on them. It sounded good at first, but in retrospect, the last thing I want is a bunch of my solo queue Ezreals going fucking ham in lane and getting themselves slaughtered. The CDR in his Q being raised to 1.5 seconds is a really healthy change in my opinion, as well as the small AD ratio being added to his E. I think the main issue right now with Ezreal being so powerful has to deal with Iceborne Gauntlet and not Ezreal himself, but at the same time, blue build Ezreal is killable and is beatable. But I think he's in a really good spot at the moment and I'm excited to see his future. But how OP do you think Ezreal was? I personally think that he was a bit weaker than he is today, other than that fucking W. Like, the only other era of Ezreal that maybe was as powerful is the old blue build that built Spirit of the Lizard Elder first item for the insane sustain and of course that fucking burn. One other thing I wanted to mention is that I'm going to be streaming twice a week, and maybe more, I'd say probably more, from now on into the foreseeable future. One stream will be nothing but fan games, hanging out, having a good time, all that shit, and the other will be my grind to Masters. Yeah, I said Masters. I know it's a big shot. I want to go pro in Season 7. Fuck you. I don't actually have a schedule, and I don't know if there will ever be one, but, you know, if you go follow the stream or on my Twitter, then yeah, you'll know when I'm live. That's it. Toodles!
You belong in my family.